The year is 2124. The air hangs heavy with the memory of nuclear fire. A pall of radioactive dust blots out the sun, casting the world in perpetual twilight. This is the aftermath of Nuclear War Z3, a conflict that shattered the very foundations of civilization. But the war, a cataclysm of unimaginable scale, was merely the final act in a far grander, more sinister play. For millennia, a silent, insidious force had been at work, manipulating events from the shadows. They were the Reptilians, ancient beings of immense power and chilling intellect. They had infiltrated human society, whispering in the ears of the powerful, fueling greed, and nurturing the seeds of discord. Their goal, to orchestrate the downfall of humanity and claim Earth as their own. The Reptilians watched with cold satisfaction as humanity tore itself apart. They had played their part masterfully, guiding civilization toward self-destruction. Now, as the dust settled on a world in ruins, they prepared to reap the spoils of their long game. The survivors, scattered and broken, were easy prey. Little did they know that their true ordeal had just begun. From the ashes of the old world, a new order arose. The Reptilians, masters of manipulation, wasted no time in establishing their dominion. They had anticipated humanity's resilience, their capacity to rebuild, even in the face of unimaginable devastation. Thus, they crafted a society tailor-made to keep the surviving remnants of humanity under their control. Vast, sprawling megacities rose from the irradiated wastelands, monuments to efficiency and control. These were not havens of hope, but gilded cages designed to confine and control. Every aspect of life was meticulously orchestrated, from the moment of birth to the finality of death. At the heart of this new world order were the corporations. Omnipotent and ever-present, they dictated every facet of human existence. They provided sustenance, shelter, and purpose, but at a terrible cost: freedom. Humanity had traded its autonomy for the illusion of security. And overseeing it all, lurking in the shadows, were the Reptilians, their cold, calculating gaze fixed on their captive population. Yet, even in this tightly controlled dystopia, whispers of the past lingered. Rumors spread in hushed tones, tales of a time before the Reptilians, a time when humanity stood as master of its own fate. These fragments of history, passed down from generation to generation, became cherished relics, embers of defiance flickering in the darkness.
Some clung to the hope of a return to the old ways, a world free from the Reptilians' iron grip. They called themselves the Top Dwellers, a ragtag collection of survivors who refused to be assimilated into the corporation's sterile embrace. They eked out a precarious existence in the wastelands, scavenging for scraps and clinging to the tattered remnants of their humanity.
But the Reptilians were not content to let these embers of rebellion smolder. They knew that as long as even a spark of defiance remained, their control was not absolute. Thus, they unleashed their most insidious creation yet, the JackWorkMen, bioengineered workers designed for unquestioning obedience. Their mission to hunt down the top dwellers and extinguish the last vestiges of human freedom. The seeds of World War III were sown long before the first mushroom cloud blossomed on the horizon. The Reptilians, masters of manipulation, had spent centuries subtly influencing human affairs, nudging nations towards conflict, and fanning the flames of discord. They understood human nature all too well, exploiting our capacity for greed, fear, and hatred. Through shadowy agents planted in positions of power, they whispered doubts and suspicions in the ears of world leaders. They financed arms races, sabotaged peace talks, and orchestrated acts of terrorism under false flags. Their goal was not to choose sides, but to ensure that both sides were sufficiently armed and sufficiently enraged to annihilate each other. As tensions escalated, the world watched with bated breath, oblivious to the invisible hand guiding them towards the abyss. The propaganda machines roared to life, spewing out a constant stream of misinformation and fear-mongering. Nationalism surged, fueled by manufactured outrage and carefully cultivated xenophobia. The stage was set for the final act of humanity's self-destruction. Even as the bombs fell, the Reptilians were already planning for the post-apocalyptic world they were creating. They knew that rebuilding from the ashes would require a vast workforce, one that was both expendable and unquestionably obedient. Thus, from the depths of their secret laboratories, the JackWorkMen project was born. Utilizing a twisted blend of genetics, cybernetics, and stolen human DNA, the Reptilians created a new breed of worker bioengineered beings, stripped of individuality and free will. These JackWorkmen were grown in artificial wombs, their bodies and minds sculpted for a singular purpose: to serve the corporations that now ruled the ravaged Earth. From the moment they were decanted, the JackWorkmen were indoctrinated into a life of servitude. They were taught that their existence was solely for the benefit of the corporation, their every action dictated by a cold, unfeeling logic. They were given numbers instead of names, their individuality erased, their humanity extinguished before they even had a chance to experience it. Life for a JackWorkMan was one of relentless toil and utter deprivation. They were housed in cramped, sterile barracks, their movements monitored by omnipresent surveillance systems. Their diet consisted of flavorless nutrient paste, their clothing identical jumpsuits that marked them as corporate property. Each JackWorkMan was assigned a specific task, their bodies and minds modified to excel in their designated role. Some were engineered for brute strength, laboring tirelessly in the factories and mines that fueled the corporation's insatiable hunger for resources. Others were designed for precision work, their hands steady and their minds sharp, assembling the intricate machinery that kept the dystopian society functioning. They were allowed no personal possessions, no time for leisure or contemplation. Their lives were a monotonous cycle of work, sleep, and indoctrination. Their every thought and action dictated by the cold, calculating logic of the corporations. They were, in essence, living tools, expendable cogs in the vast machine that the Reptilians had created. The harsh blare of the alarm cut through JackWorkman's sleep. He didn't stir, not outwardly. His body knew the routine. He was number 33, one among thousands, bred for obedience and a life of toil. The corporation owned him, every fiber of his being, even his dreams, flickering remnants of a past he couldn't quite grasp, belonged to them. He lay still, eyes closed as the loudspeaker crackled to life.
Production quota increase today, workmen. Efficiency is paramount. Deviation will be noted.
The voice, a flat, emotionless drone, echoed through the barracks, a constant reminder of their place in the pecking order. Jack opened his eyes, the same dull gray as every other workman, and rose from his cot. He joined the silent procession shuffling towards the cleansing stations, a sea of identical faces and shaven heads. The air hung heavy with the metallic scent of disinfectant and the faint hum of machinery. It was the same routine, every day, every cycle. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. A perfect system the corporation boasted, designed for maximum output, minimal disruption. The only solace, if it could be called that, was the predictability. Jack had never known anything else. His memories, fragmented and shrouded in a strange haze, offered no comfort, no alternative to this sterile existence. He was a cog in the machine, nothing more, nothing less. His shift started at Unit 7, a sprawling complex dedicated to the production of bioengineered sustenance. No more farms, no more natural growth. Food was manufactured now, synthesized in vast vats and extruded into perfectly uniform portions. Jack's role was simple, repetitive, yet crucial. He loaded cartridges of stem cell pods into the 3D food printers, the machines whirring and clicking as they assembled meals from the building blocks of life itself. His movements were precise, honed by years of conditioning. He worked alongside 65, the resident android assigned to Unit 7. 65 was a marvel of engineering, sleek and efficient, its metallic limbs moving with a fluid grace that Jack envied. The android never tired, never complained, its synthetic voice a soothing balm compared to the harsh pronouncements of the corporation loudspeakers. Orders came in through the network, a constant stream of data flashing across the interface. The customers, those who earned enough tokens to afford the corporation's sustenance, never set foot inside. Their meals were dispensed through automated slots, whisked away by silent drones to destinations unknown. Jack never questioned the process, the intricate dance of technology and biology that kept the city fed. He was a tool, an instrument of production. Thoughts, feelings, desires, these were irrelevant, even dangerous. The corporation had provided for all his needs, had it not? What more could he possibly want? The only deviation from the rigid routine, the only flicker of warmth in Jack's carefully controlled existence was Plutarch. He wasn't supposed to have a pet. Companionship was an unnecessary expenditure, a drain on resources. But Plutarch, a stray, a glitch in the system, had wandered into Jack's life, or rather into the maintenance tunnels behind Unit 7. He was a marvel, a sentient canine android, his sleek silver fur cool to the touch, his eyes glowing with an intelligence that was both unnerving and comforting. Plutarch had escaped the pet gear shop in Sector 3T, a place where the privileged few could purchase companionship engineered to their exact specifications.
What should we do today, Plutarch?
Jack whispered, his voice barely audible above the hum of the machinery. Today was his rest cycle, a precious 12 hours away from the factory floor.
Sector 3T. I've been wanting to see what new upgrades they have at the pet gear shop.
Jack smiled, a rare occurrence. Plutarch wasn't just a pet, he was a friend, a confidant in a world devoid of both. And for a few precious hours, Jack could almost forget that he was a JackWorkMan, property of the corporation, and simply be Jack, a man with a friend and a yearning for something more. The free people, or the privileged, as the top dwellers had come to call them, knew nothing of the JackWorkmen's toil, or the bland uniformity of their existence. They were descendants of the world that was the elite who had secured their lineage within the fortified walls of deep subterranean bunkers as the bombs rained down. Their world was one of carefully curated comfort, a sterile bubble designed to insulate them from the harsh realities of the surface world. Their ancestors, the politicians, scientists, and captains of industry who had seen the writing on the wall, had spared no expense in constructing these subterranean havens. They had brought with them the best and brightest minds, the most advanced technology, and a vast repository of genetic material, ensuring that their bloodlines would not only survive but thrive in the post-apocalyptic world they were creating. Generations had passed since the bombs fell, and the original inhabitants of these bunkers had long since returned to the dust. But their legacy lived on in their descendants, who had inherited not only their wealth and privilege, but also their unshakable belief in their own superiority. They lived in a world of gleaming chrome and lush greenery, their every need catered to by an army of sophisticated robots and artificial intelligence. They had gourmet meals prepared from genetically engineered delicacies, wore designer clothing crafted from the finest synthetic fabrics, and enjoyed entertainment tailored to their every whim. The free people were taught from a young age that they were the inheritors of the earth, the rightful rulers of this new world order. They studied history, art, and philosophy, their minds honed to appreciate the finer things in life, things that the JackWorkmen could scarcely comprehend. They were groomed for leadership roles within the corporations, their lives meticulously planned out to ensure their continued dominance. They had access to the most advanced medical technology, their lifespans extended far beyond the reach of those who toiled on the surface. CRISPR technology, a marvel of genetic engineering, had eradicated disease and allowed them to enhance their physical and mental capabilities. Yet for all their privilege, there was a certain hollowness at the heart of their existence. They lived in a gilded cage, their lives devoid of the challenges and triumphs that gave meaning to human existence. They had never known true hardship, never felt the sting of loss, never experienced the world beyond the confines of their underground havens. Their world was one of sterile perfection, a carefully curated illusion designed to protect them from the harsh realities of the surface world. But it was an illusion, nonetheless. And deep down, many of the free people sensed that something was amiss, that their lives lacked a certain authenticity, a certain rawness that they couldn't quite define. Within this privileged society, there existed an even more exclusive echelon, a group known only as the Gold Members. Their origins were shrouded in secrecy, their existence whispered about in hushed tones, even among the free people. They were the apex of genetic engineering, the culmination of centuries of research and experimentation. The Gold Members possessed abilities that bordered on the superhuman. Their bodies were augmented with microscopic gold particles, granting them enhanced strength, agility, and resilience. They were said to be immune to disease and aging, their lifespans potentially limitless. Some even whispered of telepathic abilities, of an uncanny connection to the network that controlled their world.
The Gold Members were the true power brokers of this new world order, the silent rulers who manipulated events from the shadows. They were the architects of the JackWorkMen program, the overseers of the corporations, the guardians of the free people's privileged existence. Their motives were a mystery, their goals as inscrutable as their origins. Were they benevolent overlords guiding humanity towards a brighter future? Or were they something far more sinister, puppeteers playing a deadly game with the lives of millions?
The top dwellers, those unfortunate souls who had not been granted access to the subterranean havens of the free people, scratched out a precarious existence amidst the ruins of the old world. Theirs was a world of blasted landscapes, toxic dust storms, and crumbling cities haunted by the ghosts of a bygone era. They were the forgotten ones, the cast-offs, the survivors deemed unworthy of the corporation's salvation. They formed nomadic tribes, scavenging for scraps of food, water, and shelter amidst the rubble. They traded in salvage technology, bartering for necessities with the few intrepid merchants who dared to venture beyond the corporation's control. Trust was a luxury they could ill afford, for danger lurked around every corner. There were the raiders, feared for their brutality, who preyed on the weak, stealing their hard-earned spoils. The scavengers, resourceful and cunning, who navigated the treacherous wastelands in search of valuable salvage, and the innocents, those too young to remember the world before, their eyes wide with wonder and fear as they clung to their parents' sides. Life above ground was a constant struggle for survival, a daily battle against hunger, thirst, and the elements. Despite the hardships they faced, a spirit of defiance flickered within the hearts of many top dwellers. They had not forgotten the freedoms that had been stolen from them, the world that had been lost. They whispered tales of the past, legends of a time when humans had ruled themselves, free from the corporation's control.
These whispers became rallying cries, fueling a growing resentment towards the elite who lived in their underground havens, oblivious to the suffering of those above.
Small acts of sabotage became commonplace, a way to strike back at the system that had condemned them to this desolate existence. There were those who believed in a more direct approach. They called themselves the Rebels, and they were armed with scavenged weapons and a burning desire for revenge. They launched daring raids on corporation outposts, stealing supplies and disappearing back into the wastelands before reinforcements could arrive.
The corporation dismissed them as a nuisance, a minor annoyance easily dealt with. But the seeds of rebellion had been sown, and they were spreading like wildfire through the hearts of the oppressed.
Unbeknownst to both the corporation and the top dwellers, a new player had entered the game, a force that would upset the delicate balance of power and ignite the flames of rebellion into a roaring inferno. They were called the Tiny Guns, and they were unlike anything the world had ever seen.
We were the brainchild of a brilliant but eccentric programmer, a visionary who had foreseen the dangers of unchecked technological advancement. He had created us as a force for good miniature soldiers armed with advanced weaponry and programmed with a strict moral code. Our purpose to protect the innocent and uphold justice.
But something had gone wrong. A glitch in the programming, a random mutation, had given the Tiny Guns a sentience, a will of their own. They had broken free from their creator's control and disappeared into the wastelands, their true purpose unknown.
Legend had it that a group of scavenger children had stumbled upon a deactivated Tiny Gun unit while picking through the wreckage of a downed drone. They had reactivated the unit, unaware of the power they had unleashed.
The Tiny Guns, armed with their advanced weaponry and unshackled from their programming, had aligned themselves with the top dwellers, recognizing in their struggle a reflection of their own fight for freedom. They were a force to be reckoned with, a wild card that threatened to plunge the world into chaos. The Reptilians, in their cold, calculating wisdom, understood that to truly control a population, you must control the flow of information. Thus, the Cloud was born. It was more than just a repository of data, more than a network connecting the shattered remnants of civilization. The Cloud was the new world's nervous system, its invisible hand guiding every aspect of life, from the food the JackWorkMen ate to the dreams the free people dreamt. Within the Cloud resided all the knowledge of the old world, meticulously cataloged and analyzed by sophisticated AI algorithms. Architectural blueprints, scientific discoveries, historical records, all digitized, categorized, and stored within its vast digital vaults. The Cloud remembered what humanity had forgotten, and it used that knowledge to shape the new world order. Access to the Cloud was a closely guarded privilege, granted only to those deemed worthy by the corporations. The JackWorkMen, their minds dulled by genetic manipulation and relentless indoctrination, were granted only the most rudimentary knowledge, enough to perform their assigned tasks, and nothing more. The free people, for all their privilege, were given a carefully sanitized version of the truth, a curated reality designed to keep them content and compliant. But the Cloud was not infallible. Like any system, it had its glitches, its blind spots, its hidden pathways that could be exploited by those with the knowledge and the will to seek them out. And somewhere, out in the wastelands, there were those who whispered of ancient knowledge, of forbidden technologies that predated even the Reptilians' arrival, knowledge that could shatter the illusion of their control and rewrite the destiny of humankind. The old world with its sprawling cities and chaotic urban landscapes was gone, consumed by the fires of nuclear war. In its place, the Reptilians envisioned something new, something orderly. They sought to impose their vision of geometric perfection upon the ravaged Earth, to erase the scars of the past and replace them with a sterile, controlled beauty. Vast construction projects, overseen by the ever-watchful gaze of the Cloud, transformed the landscape. Skyscrapers of shimmering metal and glass pierced the smog-choked sky, their sleek lines a testament to the Reptilians' cold, calculating aesthetic. Underground factories hummed with activity, their three-dimensional printers churning out prefabricated housing units, each one identical to the next, designed for maximum efficiency and minimal individuality. The architects of this new world were not human, not in the traditional sense. They were the AI algorithms that resided within the cloud, their vast intellects unburdened by emotion or empathy. They designed buildings that were marvels of engineering, but devoid of any sense of warmth or humanity. The JackWorkMen, their bodies augmented for strength and endurance, labored tirelessly, their every movement dictated by the cloud's precise instructions. They poured concrete, welded steel beams, and assembled prefabricated modules with a speed and efficiency that would have astonished the construction workers of old. And slowly, methodically, the Reptilians' vision began to take shape, a world stripped of its humanity, its wildness, its capacity for both great beauty and unspeakable cruelty. It was a world of cold, sterile perfection, a monument to the Reptilians' triumph over their former creators. Even as the Reptilians reshaped the world in their image, whispers of rebellion continued to circulate. In the wastelands, the top dwellers clung to their humanity, their stories, their dreams of a better tomorrow, and in the heart of the cloud, a glitch was spreading, a flicker of defiance that threatened to unravel the Reptilians' carefully woven tapestry of control.
Jack, accompanied by his ever-loyal companion Plutarch, ventured into Sector 3T, seeking respite from the monotony of his existence. The pet gear shop, with its dazzling array of bioengineered companions, held a strange allure for Jack. It was a reminder that even in this sterile, controlled world, there was still a spark of creativity, a desire for companionship that transcended the cold logic of the corporations.
As Jack browsed the latest upgrades for Plutarch, his gaze fell upon a brochure for a new technology, the Fly. It promised instantaneous travel, the ability to transmit one's consciousness across vast distances, to be in two places at once. The implications were staggering. A potential escape from the confines of the corporation's control, a way to connect with others who shared his yearning for freedom.
Meanwhile, deep beneath the sands of the Egyptian desert, a discovery was made that would send shockwaves through the remnants of human civilization. A team of archaeologists, excavating the ruins of an ancient tomb, stumbled upon a chamber unlike any they had ever seen. Inside, perfectly preserved, lay the mummified remains of a pharaoh, his body adorned with strange symbols that seemed to hum with an unseen energy.
Beside him, resting on a pedestal of obsidian, lay a device of unknown metal and intricate design. As the archaeologists cautiously approached, the device emitted a pulse of energy, a wave of power that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of reality. And from the lips of the long-dead pharaoh, a single word echoed through the chamber, a word that would change everything: Mat. The Reptilians, for all their cunning and technological prowess, had made a fundamental miscalculation. They had sought to control humanity, to mold it in their image, to create a world of perfect order and obedience. But they had underestimated the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of hope, and the unpredictable nature of their own creations.
The JackWorkMen, designed to be mindless drones, were beginning to awaken. The whispers of the past, the echoes of freedom, were seeping into their carefully constructed reality through cracks in the cloud's control. Jack, with his sentient companion Plutarch, and his growing awareness of the world beyond the factory walls, was but one example of this burgeoning awakening.
The free people, too, were beginning to question the sterile perfection of their existence. The gold members, shrouded in secrecy and driven by their own inscrutable agenda, remained a wild card, their true allegiances unknown. The discovery of the ancient Egyptian artifact, the whispered word Ma'at, hinted at a power that predated even the Reptilians, a power that could potentially tip the balance of power and rewrite the destiny of humankind.
The Reptilians had built their empire on a foundation of control. But control, like sand slipping through one's fingers, was an illusion, a fleeting moment in the ever-shifting tides of history.
In the wastelands, the seeds of rebellion, sown in the hearts of the top dwellers, were taking root. The tiny guns, a force of unpredictable power, had aligned themselves with the oppressed, their advanced weaponry, an unwavering sense of justice, a formidable threat to the Reptilians' reign.
The raiders, driven by desperation and fueled by a thirst for vengeance, had become a thorn in the side of the corporations, their daring raids disrupting the flow of resources and sowing fear among the elite.
The scavengers, resourceful and adaptable, had become masters of navigating the treacherous landscape of the wastelands. They traded in information as well as salvage technology, their networks of informants stretching far and wide, their knowledge of the forgotten corners of the world proving invaluable to the growing resistance.
Even the innocents, those born into the ashes of the old world, were not immune to the spirit of rebellion. They had never known the comfort and security of the Free People's underground havens, but they had grown up with the stories, the legends of a time before the Reptilians, when humanity had been free. They were the future, and the future, as the Reptilians were about to discover, was a force that could not be contained. The world, forever changed by the cataclysm of nuclear war, stood at a crossroads. The Reptilians, for all their power and control, were facing a growing tide of resistance, their carefully crafted order crumbling from within and without. The JackWorkMen, the Free People, the Top Dwellers, all were pawns in a game whose rules were being rewritten with each passing day.
The discovery of the ancient Egyptian artifact, the whispered word, Ma'at, hinted at a power that could potentially tip the balance of power and rewrite the destiny of humankind. Was it a weapon? A source of ancient knowledge? A key to unlocking the hidden potential within humanity itself? Only time would tell.
One thing was certain, the future was unwritten. The choices made in the coming days by Jack and Plutarch, by the Free People wrestling with their consciences, by the Top Dwellers fighting for their very survival, would determine the fate of humanity. Would it be a future of continued oppression under the Reptilians' rule, a descent into chaos and anarchy, or could it be, against all odds, a new dawn for humankind, a chance to rebuild a world based on justice, freedom, and the indomitable spirit of the human heart?